Judy and I thought this idea of taking a massive big Buddha around the world might last for 6 months, maybe a year. But it took 9 years, and one place led to another. So in the end, it went to over 20 countries in the world. Over 135 cities have hosted the Jade Buddha, and over 11.5 million people have come to see the Jade Buddha. And then he came back to Australia, and we've eventually got him inside the Great Stupa just a few days ago. They described it as the find of the millennium, this big boulder. And I received a phone call from someone in America, like someone from the movie, saying, "Hey dude, we need to come and you need to make this into a Buddha." So I went to Santa Cruz and then spoke to our master, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, about this big boulder. You know, that night he had a dream or a vision, or whatever you'd like to call, that the boulder would become a Buddha, and this Buddha would then shine the light of peace around the world. So he so enthusiastically said to me, "You must make it into a holy object to offer to the world."
Today is a really joyous day for Ian and I particularly, but for many people. The Jade Buddha has become a sort of a magnetising force around the world, and we dreamed of this day when we would bring it to the Great Stupa, and now it's here. Well, it's a new beginning of the Jade Buddha inside the stupa. The two projects were always intended to be together, and so this is the beginning, and we shall see what kind of effect the Jade Buddha has now that he is home.
There is a spiritual quality associated with every sensory experience, with visual experience, with sound, for sure, like the chanting. It's an aid to the spiritual path. We must use our senses as well as our sixth sense, our logic, our reasoning. From the Buddhist point of view, that's our sixth sense. So we need to combine all six of them in developing on the path.
When the statue was placed at my temple many years ago, immediately you can see the person change. Not they become a different person, but something good in them manifests. And I have observed that many sleeping Buddhists, not sleeping Buddha, many sleeping Buddhists, when they encounter the statue, the faith awaken again. And therefore, I start to grow the curiosity. Why could this happen? Why a statue don't have that ability like a living person, but can deliver this kind of power?
As humans, we have a whole spectrum of inclinations, of interests and dispositions. I remember Lama Yeshe saying that was part of the aim, to allow people to relate to a common spiritual theme according to their mindset, to be able to cater for everybody. That is our broad aim, and we don't know how we'll do it, but we want to try. We want to try.
Really, it was the wish of our teachers, Lama Yeshe and Lama Zopa, that we actually create this enormous, great stupa, and then that we create this jade Buddha, a jade Buddha of universal peace, to take the message of peace around the world.
One thing that we had in mind all along, right from the start, through all of this trip, was the day that we would bring the Jade Buddha to the Great Stupa, and here it is.
You know, it's so emotional for my wife and I to actually be, there from the day it was a raw boulder, and now the mission is accomplished.
The Buddhist tradition is to have stupas, to erect stupas in towns and also in monasteries, and they symbolize the achievement of enlightenment, the whole path to enlightenment. So every part of the stupa shows a different aspect of the path to enlightenment. very geometric structure of a stupa has an impression upon the mind of any being who sees it, even insects, birds who fly by. The very special geometry which came from India creates an imprint in their mind to meet the teachings.
Today we celebrate the birth and enlightenment of the Buddha with a festival dedicated to the light and peace of harmony. Tonight we have spectacular performances and light shows and fireworks that will enthrall and illuminate.
And eventually Bhima succeeded in cracking their heads together. Now we owe you a great depth of gratitude, Bhima, for returning us to our true forms. What can we give to you?
Already we've got invitations to come back to America, to Canada, to Vietnam, to Malaysia, to Singapore, etc.
People have just flocked to see him. He has something going for him that we didn't realise we were creating.
So what we have said is the Jade Buddha will stay inside the Great Stupa for 4 to 5 years, and then we promise that we will then take the Jade Buddha out and bring him again on a second major world tour.
For 6 long years, Siddhartha followed many different teachers and privations without success. He even tried living without food or drink until he nearly killed himself. Thankfully, a milkmaid named Sujata offered him life-giving milk and rice. Eventually, he sat under a Bodhi tree in Bongai and vowed to stay in meditation until he attained enlightenment. After 7 days under the Bodhi tree, the prince became the Buddha, which is the Sanskrit word for awakened one. This moment of enlightenment was under the same full moon of the 5th month that he was born under 35 years earlier, and that he would pass away under at the age of 80. The same full moon that rises above us here tonight.
As the stupa nears completion, then the activities will be focused in a broad spiritual sense, not just Buddhism. It really will be a broad centre for the broad sense of spiritual growth, which is common to all the major religions, for people to come and experience peace.